everybody, and today we are going to do something completely different on my channel than I've ever done. I'm going to kind of upgrade my video quality here. This isn't a live stream, even though I could have made this a live stream, but I want to present this video on my own terms, and then you can kind of judge for yourself. Before beginning this video, I want to make it abundantly clear that anybody that we talk about in this video is innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. But today what I'm going to do is lay out my case for you as to why I think the prosecution has done a tremendous job of boxing Richard Allen, who was accused of the February 2017 murders of teenagers Abigail Williams and Liberty German, how they've just boxed him into a corner to where I think that they're going to have a much, much stronger case than a lot of you realize. And if you give me about a half an hour of your time, I'm going to lay that out. And in the later half of this video, I'm also going to have some surprises for you all, and some things that are probably going to really make you think, and some things that you may not have seen at all yet. Okay. Some of these things are going to really surprise some of you when you watch them later on. But first, let me lay out my case as to why I think the prosecution has done a tremendous job, even though it's taken a long time to bring Richard Allen to trial coming up here soon. Okay. And the first thing that we're going to do is we are going to take a look at the probable cause affidavit for Richard Allen's arrest. And I have that here. I apologize if some of the lettering isn't what it should be, but I'm going to do my best to read this to you and then lay out my case. Okay, first we have the affidavit for search warrant. It says Carroll County Sheriff's Department Detective Tony Liggett swears or affirms and believes that this is true, et cetera, et cetera. And they lay out their case as to why they should search Richard Allen's home. Here goes. It says, in support of said warrant, that on Monday, February 13th, 2017, at approximately 1:50 p.m., Abigail Williams and Liberty German were dropped off by a family member at the Monon High Bridge Trail off of County Road 300 North. On Tuesday, February 14th at approximately 12:17 p.m., the girls were found deceased. Their bodies were located in the woods northeast of the Monon High Bridge in Indiana. Autopsies of the girls ruled their deaths as homicides, and their wounds were caused by a sharp object. Before I continue here, I just want everybody to know that, I'm really doing my best in this video to lay out facts, things that we know to be facts, which those of you who have been subscribers or members of my channel for a long time know as a journalist, that's what I really try to do. Yes, we speculate about some things, but we try to speculate respectfully based on things we know. Anyway, I'll continue here. Investigators I skipped something here. Autopsies of the girls ruled their deaths as homicides, and their wounds were caused by a sharp object. Investigators located Liberty German's iPhone 6S, so we know her phone was an iPhone 6S, under her body at the scene, and were able to recover a video approximately 43 seconds in length, captured at 2:13 p.m. on February 13, 2017. The video depicts Abigail walking on the Monon High Bridge toward Liberty while a male subject wearing a dark jacket and jeans walks behind her. Near the end of the video, the man is heard in the video telling the girls, "Down the hill." Through further investigation of the location of the bodies, investigators also located a .40 caliber unspent round. Now, this has been a point of contention among a lot of YouTubers who claim they didn't find this round until days later, but Fig Solves and some other channels have done a great job of debunking that and proving beyond any doubt in my mind that they found this unspent round, which was located just 2 feet away from one of the girls, according to documents, that they found that pretty quickly after discovering the girls. Not days and days after, like some people are alleging. I will continue here. And additionally, it says here, they also determined that articles of clothing from the girls were missing from the scene, including a pair of underwear and a sock. So They know for a fact that two things that were taken from the crime scene, probably as souvenirs or trophies by the killer or killers, were a pair of one of the girls' underwear and a sock. Again, I want to remind everybody that when they searched Richard Allen's home, they don't have to put everything in his probable cause arrest warrant affidavit. So who knows if they found any of those souvenirs there when they searched Allen's home. I don't recall seeing those two things listed per se in the items that they took out of there, but I'm just saying and reminding everyone there were things that they took from there, from Allen's home during that search, and the defense team has since tried to suppress the fruits of that search, including the .40 caliber, weapon that he owned, which we'll get to here shortly. Anyway, continuing. Through the investigation, there were interviews done with 3 of the 4 girls that were on the trails that day. The girls observed a male on the trails on February 13, 2017 that matched the description of the male in the video recorded by Liberty German. The 3 girls identified as, and, whatever you do, these people listed in this document are under gag orders, I do believe. Don't harass them. Don't try and find them. Don't bother them. Don't do it, okay? I'm hesitant to even mention their names because it's a public document that's already out there. We're going to, because we're talking about facts here. The 3 girls identified as Riley Voorhees, Brianna Wilbur, and Anna Spath encountered this male near a bench east of the Freedom Bridge. The girls were on the trail and were walking toward the Freedom Bridge to go home. The male they encountered was walking from the Freedom Bridge toward the Monon High Bridge. One of the 3 girls, identified as Anna Spath, described the male as an older man walking on the trails as they were leaving, and she described him as, quote, kind of creepy, an older man walking on the trails, et cetera, et cetera. In a text from Anna to somebody that she knew, Anna described the man as wearing, quote, like blue jeans, like really light, a light blue jacket. His hair was gray, maybe a little brown, and he did not really show his face. Investigator Steve Mullen and Brent Ingram interviewed Anna, and she described the male as wearing a blue jacket and light blue faded blue jeans. The jacket was a canvas duck-type jacket. Rayleigh Voorhees, who was also in the group of 4 girls, and she said hi to the man, but he just glared at them. She recalled him being in all black and had something covering his mouth. Rayleigh recalled telling her sister that someone was in a grumpy mood. She wanted to describe him as not very tall and bigger build. She said he was not bigger than 5'10". Riley went on to say in an interview that he was wearing a black hoodie, black jeans, and black boots. She said that he had his hands in his pockets. And one of the witnesses, as we've seen, described, him as wearing all black. The other one said that he was wearing a dark jacket, blue jeans. So there is one minor discrepancy there, and that tends to happen sometimes when you're interviewing witnesses. Anyhow, we will continue. An interview was conducted in 2020 of Bree Wilbur. Now, this is important because it's like, wow. Why did it take them until 2020 to interview this person? That's kind of crazy to me. When you're trying to establish timelines, when you're trying to find, and again, we all know this is around the time or shortly thereafter where they had the change of direction press conference. So when they had that change of direction press conference, it was at that point they were really focusing all their investigation into these girls who were there that day and to these witnesses to establish a timeline, because by then, for one reason or another, they figured out, hey, this is what happened, and these girls actually saw the killer that day. So to continue, an interview was conducted in 2020 of Bree Wilbur. She was able to show investigators a picture that she took on her phone of the Monon High Bridge with a timestamp of 12:43 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. She showed investigators another picture she took at the bench just east of the Freedom Bridge when they were leaving at 1:26 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Bree stated that after she took the picture at the bench, they started walking back toward the Freedom Bridge. She stated that's when they walked past the man who matched the description of the individual in the picture. This is super important, people. Super important. Establishing a timeline is how they are going to show at trial that that person on the bridge is Richard Allen and that he is boxed in there and that he's that person in the video. Okay? So that would be approximately about 1:30 p.m. Abby and Libby had not shown up yet. So these girls see this person as they're getting ready to leave. They're walking toward the Freedom Bridge that goes over Route 25. And again, it says, Bree stated after she took the picture of the bench, they started walking back toward the Freedom Bridge. That's when they walked past the man. So at this point, Bridge Guy, whether it's Allen or not, is already arrived at the scene. And he's out there walking down those trails toward the Monon High Bridge between 1:26 and 1:30 p.m. So he's arrived approximately 20 to 23 minutes before Abby and Libby ever show up and before they're even dropped off by Kelsey. 23 minutes ahead of time. And in later subsequent interviews with Richard Allen, he states that he was out there between 1:30 and 3:30 in his interview with Detective Liggett, which they go over here later on in this document. And that's important because that puts him out here at that time, and it gives a very specific time by his own admission, by eyewitnesses, that that's when he was out there before the girls arrived. So let's continue here. Detective Liggett believes the picture that she is referring to is the picture law enforcement released of the man on the bridge, taken from the video Liberty captured on her cell phone the day of the murders. Bree described the man as wearing a blue or black windbreaker jacket. She stated the jacket had a collar and that he had his hood up from the clothing underneath the jacket. Bree advised, and I hope I'm pronouncing that right, B-R-E, Bree advised he was wearing a baggy jeans and he was taller than her. She stated her head came up to approximately his shoulder. Bree told us Rayleigh said hi to the man and he said nothing back. Bree described the man as walking with a purpose, like he knew where he was going. Bree also stated the man had his hands in his pockets and kept his head down. She didn't get a look at his face, but believed he was a white male. As the girls left, they crossed the Freedom Bridge and the railroad bridge over Old State Route 25. An individual by the name of Betsy Blair was returning to the trails to finish her walk. Betsy is seen on video at the Hoosier Harvest Store on 300 North, traveling eastbound to the trailhead to park at 1:46 p.m. actual time. So that's time stamped. So Betsy Blair arrives at 1:46 p.m. Blair saw the girls walking above as she went under the railroad bridge, the girls who were leaving. On September 21st, 2022, Detective Liggett was provided a tip narrative from the Orion system to review. And that's the FBI's Orion system, where they gather tips, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It was from DNR Lieutenant Dan Doolin. The narrative was as follows. Mr. Allen was on the trail between 1:30 and 3:30 p.m. He parked at the old Farm Bureau building and walked down to the new Freedom Bridge. While at the Freedom Bridge, he saw 3 females. He noted one was taller and had brown or black hair. He did not remember her, nor did he speak with them. He walked from the Freedom Bridge to the High Bridge. So he admits that he walked to the Monon High Bridge after arriving, right about that time after 1:30, which matches the 3 girls' eyewitness description saying that they saw him right around that time. And again, that's important. You're establishing a timeline. He did not remember the description of them. He walked to the Freedom Bridge. He claimed that he did not see anybody, although he stated he was watching a stock ticker on his phone as he walked. He stated there were vehicles parked at the High Bridge trailhead, however, did not pay any attention to them. He did not take any photos or video. His cell phone did not list an IMEI, but he did have the following. Through the statement of Mr. Allen, he admits that on February 13th, 2017, he parked his vehicle at the, quote, old farm building from 1:30 to 3:30 and was on the trails at that time. There is no old Farm Bureau building anywhere close to the trails or bridge. Detective Liggett believes he is referring to the Child Protective Services building. In 2017, Richard Allen owned a 2016 black Ford Focus and a 2006 gray Ford 500. Upon review of video collected from the Hoosier Hardware store on February 13, 2017, investigators were able to locate a vehicle that appears to match Allen's 2016 Ford Focus on the video at 13:27 hours actual time. So that would be 1:27 p.m. Again, timeline, folks. This coincides with Allen saying he was at the trails around 1:30 p.m. Detective Liggett then examined the timelines for the day of the homicides. As previously said above, Voorhees, Wilbur, and Spath were leaving the trails and passed by a male matching the description of the male in the video taken by Liberty. Given the statements by Allen and the timestamp of the video from the Hoosier Hardware store and the statements of 3 of the 4 girls, Detective Liggett believes that the male 3 of the girls saw was, in fact, Richard Allen. Okay? So these are important timestamps, important eyewitness testimony. He puts himself there by his own admission, so we have that. And of course, we know from the October 13th, 2022 interview that Allen later admits he was wearing items that were very, very similar, if not nearly identical, to what Bridge Guy was wearing. Allen stated that after he passed the girls, and then he walked to the Monon High Bridge and saw nobody else, which is interesting because it seems like in his initial interview with Doolin, he said that he didn't see anybody initially. So, which is it? That has changed. And it changed in his subsequent interview, it sounds like. Allen stated that after he passed the girls, and then he walked to the Monon High Bridge and saw nobody else, investigators believe that after passing the Hoosier Hardware store at 1:46 p.m., Blair parked at the trailhead entrance across from the Mears residence. Now, I believe that's where Kelsey also dropped the girls off roughly 3 or 4 minutes later. In her interview, she says that there are no other cars at the trailhead entrance at that time, which matches because, as we all know, Kelsey showed up 3 or 4 minutes after that to the same entrance. She walked to the Monon High Bridge, and a male matching the male from Liberty, male matching, let's see, they don't write this very well. She walked to the Monon High Bridge, and a male matching the male from Liberty's video. She described him as a white male wearing blue jeans and a blue jean jacket. This matches the blue duck canvas jacket Anna Spath describes. Blair said that the male was standing on the first platform on the Monon High Bridge, approximately 50 feet away from her. Blair turned around at the bridge and continued her walk, so she goes back the other way. Approximately halfway between the bridge and the main hub of the trail, she passed 2 girls walking toward the high bridge. Blair said she believed it was Liberty German and Abigail Williams. At 13:49 hours on the Hoosier Hardware store video, there is a white car that matches Kelsey German's vehicle. So again, time-stamped, folks. Time-stamped. 3 minutes later, after Betsy Blair shows up there at that at the entrance by the Mears farm, Kelsey German shows up to drop them off. So Betsy Blair goes out there, 3-4 minutes ahead of when Kelsey drops the girls off. She gets to the bridge. She sees somebody matching Allen's description out on the bridge already on that first little wooden platform that stands out. And that's out by Allen's own admission. He states that around that time that he was out on the bridge there too, looking at his stock ticker. And eventually he says looking at fish. So you've got another eyewitness that puts Allen matching the description of what he said he was wearing out there on the bridge just before the girls arrive on the trail, walking toward him on the bridge. Toward him on the bridge. Okay? Got that so far? Okay, let's continue. Bear with me, everybody. Okay. Blair turned around the bridge, continued her walk. She encounters Liberty and Abby at 1349. The Hooters Harvest Store. White car matches Kelsey German's vehicle. Liberty and Abigail would have been dropped off right before this video. Blair finished her walk and is seen on the Hoosier Harvest Store video leaving westbound at 2:14 p.m. Blair said that she saw no adults other than the male on the bridge. That's also important. She didn't see anybody else out there that was male. No one else. As Blair was leaving, she noted a vehicle was parked in an odd manner at the old Child Protective Service building. She said that it was odd, not odd for vehicles to be parked there, but it was odd that it was backed in near the building. She said that vehicles often use the south edge of the parking lot, so they are closer to the trail to get to the Freedom Bridge. Detective Liggett reviewed a tip from Terry Wilson. Wilson was on his way to Delphi on February 13th on the Hoosier Heartland Highway at approximately 2:10. He observed what he described as either a purple P-Tree Cruiser or small SUV-typed vehicle parked on the south side of the old CPS building. Wilson said it was backed in as to conceal the license plate of the vehicle. During their interviews with both Blair and Wilson, they drew a diagram and had the vehicle they saw parked in the same general area and manner. An interview was done of Sarah Carbaugh in 2017. She states that she was traveling east on 300 North and observed a male subject walking west on the north side of 300 North away from Monon High Bridge. She stated that he was wearing a blue-colored jacket and blue jeans and was muddy and bloody. She further stated that it appeared he had gotten into a fight. Investigators determined from the video that she was on 300 North at 15:57 hours, which is 3:57 p.m. Richard M. Allen was interviewed by investigators on October 13th, 2022 at the Investigation Center. He was interviewed by Detective Liggett and Carroll County Prosecutor Investigator Stephen Mullen. He agreed to come to the center and speak with investigators. Now, this is also important because October 13th is the day that they served and approved the search warrant on Allen's home. So immediately, Allen voluntarily agrees to come in for another interview right after they say, hey, buddy, we're searching your home. So he goes in there. He was advised his rights. He was further advised that he was not under arrest and free to leave at any time. Investigator Mullen explained to him how to leave the center if he so desired. He stated that he was, in fact, on the trails on February 13th. He further stated during this interview that he saw 3 girls on the trails east of the Freedom Bridge, and also that he went onto the Monon High Bridge. He also told investigators he was wearing blue jeans and a blue or black Carhartt jacket with a hood that day. He stated he also wore some type of head covering. He further claimed that he saw no one else but the 3 girls that he observed east of the Freedom Bridge. Further, prior to the interview, he told investigators that he also had guns at his home. Richard M. Allen's wife, Kathy Allen, spoke to investigators as well. She confirmed that Richard did have guns and knives at the residence. She also stated that Richard Allen still has a blue Carhartt jacket. The evidence gathered shows that on February 13th, 2017, that 4 girls, Riley Voorhees, Brianna Wilbur, Anna Spath, and Isabel Voorhees, were on the trail when they observed a male individual walking on the trails toward the Monon High Bridge. The male was wearing clothes similar to the clothes of the male depicted in the video taken from Liberty's phone. Investigators know that this male is the last known individual to have had contact with Liberty German and Abigail Williams before they were murdered. And how do they know that? They know it because of the video that Liberty German heroically took, people. Okay? That she took. If she doesn't take that video, there's probably not an arrest in this case. And if Richard Allen doesn't come forward and say, hey, I was out there that day, both early on, within days of the murders, to Dan Doolin and to investigators on October 13th, 2022, saying, hey, I'm basically wearing the same thing, and he's not boxed in by 4 witnesses as being the only person out there that day on the bridge during that half-hour time. The only one, okay? They've got him boxed in already. then his arrest doesn't happen. So these things are all extremely important, and they're going to be extremely important at trial. The evidence gathered show, okay, the male is wearing clothes similar to the clothes of the male depicted in the video. Knows that the last known contact. Further, Betsy Blair was shown a picture of the individual on the Monon High Bridge, and she says that is the same individual. Same individual, people, not different one. She saw the video Liberty took and said, yep, that was the guy. Okay? So Betsy Blair gets showed a picture and says, yep, that's the dude I saw. In an interview with Richard M. Allen on October 13th, he admits that he was in fact on the trails that day, walked past the 3 girls, and he stated that he was physically on the bridge. Sorry if I'm going over this ad nauseum, but we have to hammer it home. These are eyewitnesses. These are facts. These are timestamps. After Betsy Blair sees this individual, there are several other individuals on the trail that don't observe the man or Liberty German or Abigail Williams. So after Betsy Blair leaves, other people pretty quickly after that show up. They don't see another man out there. None, as they walk toward the bridge from where they park. Why is that? Probably because the person in that jacket, who they believe is Allen, is probably the only male that's out there during that time frame at all. Or at least the only person that's there with 4 eyewitnesses from the parking area to the bridge. Sarah Carbaugh then observes a man walking down 300 North with a blue jacket and jeans and says that he is muddy and bloody as if he had just been in a fight. She has shown a picture of the man on the bridge, and lo and behold, what does Sarah Carbaugh say? Another witness says, She's shown a picture of the man on the bridge and says, yep, that's the same man that I saw walking on 300 North. Same one in Liberty German's video. The exact same one. Investigators believe that Richard M. Allen is the last individual to have contact with Liberty German and Abigail Williams. Investigators further believe that Richard M. Allen is the individual depicted on the Monon High Bridge from the video taken from Liberty German's phone. And then it goes on to state how long Detective Liggett has been a member of law enforcement for 21 years, what his training and experience is, things like that. And then, of course, they go and they sign off on it. And as we see here in all these different slides, it just talks about all the things that they took from his home, including size 6.5 and size 7.5 boots, which are really small. And based on the pictures that Kyle Keener, I believe is his name, took at the scene, it looks like there were shoe prints or things like that they probably took casts of or moldings of. So if any of that potentially matches Allen's feet, that could be evidence. They took Carhartt hats. They took other items. If they match any of the fibers from the clothing that they took from his home to anything found at the crime scene, that's damning. And obviously, we know that in the subsequent testing of Richard Allen's weapon, the .40 caliber weapon they took from his home, it is alleged to match Richard Allen's weapon. Now, during that interview with detectives on October 13th, 2022, Allen also states that he was never on Ron Logan's property, that he hadn't been out there, firing weapons or anything. Well, how does that unspent round get out there then, Rick? And again, there's all kinds of people who are not forensic experts who are going to say, oh, well, the ballistics evidence is crap. It's subject to interpretation. And yeah, you're damn right it's subject to interpretation. But here's what they don't tell you. And I actually should have taken video of this so I could show you guys here. But I was studying this the other day, and I was studying the FBI website for ballistics and all kinds of forensic sites. And one of the things they state in comparative weapons testing that they do now is, I think they took in one study, they took 1,500 random weapons, okay, that were of the same caliber. And in the ones that they were able to match definitively, the striation markings, the extractor claw markings on the unspent rounds, it's not like they were able to just match one or two microscopic parts of this unspent round, but they were able to like match. So it was something like an average of like, for ones that actually did match, they were able to match like an average of like 45 different spots on the round. So it's not like you're just matching one little tiny groove or two little tiny grooves. They're matching dozens, okay, dozens of striation markings on this unspent round. And they have detailed computer algorithms that can show you just how accurate these matches are. So when it goes to trial, whoever examined this forensic evidence, they're going to be put through the ringer by the defense. But if they've done their homework, they're going to be able to show a jury, hey, this isn't just a couple of nicks on a bullet that we're matching up here, pal. This is tons of different matching marks. Dozens. So watch for that when it goes to trial, when they have the expert ballistics testimony, because it's likely going to show that Allen's unspent round matches his weapon way better than you think it does. That's going to be important. So I took some notes here, some interesting things here that I think really, really stand out. We've got the search of the property. They said people were digging. We know that the Allen family had cats. Were there any animal hair fibers from the Allen home that were found during the search of his home that matched anything out there at the crime scene or any of the girls? That's going to be important. And again, we're going to go to 154 here. And this is going to be key because everybody talks about, oh, well, confessions can be bull crap, et cetera, et cetera. When people are under stress, they give false confessions. And granted, there's evidence to show in some cases this is true. But this is important, everybody. Richard Allen, his confession in April of 2023 does not appear, I repeat, does not appear to be coerced. How do I know that? Well, let's look at this here. Investigators had the phone call from his jail cell transcribed. Okay. So it's not like they were interrupting his phone call. It's not like somebody was standing there beating the crap out of him while he was on the phone. There's video recordings. There's audio transcription. Investigators had the phone call transcribed, and the transcription confirms that Richard M. Allen admits that he committed the murders of Abigail Williams and Liberty German. He admits several times within the phone call that he committed the offenses as charged. His wife, Kathy Allen, ends the phone call abruptly. So soon after, attorneys for Richard Allen filed an emergency motion to modify safekeeping order, probably because they knew that he just admitted to the crime and didn't want other defendants finding that out or jail inmates finding that out and kicking his ass or killing him or something. So immediately they're worried about his safekeeping because he's just confessed. So they file that motion, and the defense makes allegations that his mental health has declined to where he's been deprived. And we can go through all the constitutional rights, where his rights being violated, et cetera, et cetera. Richard Allen was wetting down paperwork he had gotten from his attorneys and eating it. He was refusing to eat and refusing to sleep, et cetera, et cetera. He went from making 2 phone calls a day as of April 3rd, 2023 to not making any phone calls at all. And it says here, to date, Richard Allen has still not made a phone call since April 3rd, 2023. Yeah, probably because his attorneys came in there and probably told him, hey, buddy, don't you dare ruin our case and go confessing to anything else on the phone again. Who knows? You'd think that he'd have to know that he's being recorded, but again, who knows? There could be some pre-existing mental illness that's going on there. And as we know, there was an incident after these murders where police were called to Richard Allen's home. He was excessively drinking. He seemed to have a habitual drinking habit. And he was, at bare minimum, a lot of people say, oh, he was institutionalized, he was sent to a mental facility. We don't have information that proves that. And I think any information that would be released that proves that is probably a medical privacy rights violation in the first place. So anybody who says that they know Richard Allen was in a mental facility is either A, really, really good friends with him and knows this somehow, or B, is just going on hearsay or violating HIPAA law. So, again, if you really stop and critically think, Richard Allen and the eyewitnesses seem to have really boxed Richard Allen into a corner, put him there by his own admission, by eyewitness accounts, to being there on the bridge and being the only male there on that trail in that area when the girls were murdered. And then you have, if he is in fact out there on that bridge, well, you have an hour and a half of time that's unaccounted for, from roughly 2:13 p.m. to when he's allegedly seen on County Road 300 North, bloody and muddy, walking back to his car. So he's got an hour and a half of time after he encounters Abby and Libby, allegedly, to where he's back toward his car. That's a long time. Everybody says, oh, he couldn't have redressed people, and he didn't have time to do this. He didn't have time to stage the crime scene at it. Folks, if that is in fact him, he had a tremendous amount of time to stage that crime scene. Tons. Do you know how much you can do in 90 minutes time? And again, we also have prosecutors stating later on that they believe, quote, Richard Allen is not the only actor involved in this crime. And I'm going to play a video here in a moment that shows why I think that is important, because there's a former FBI agent that was on this case or used to be on this case, that has some theories about what happened here and, et cetera, et cetera. Well, let's just play this here real quick. One of the things that's always bothered me about the Delphi case is that you have Superintendent Doug Carter, and then you also have Kim Riley, both on camera at different times, stating matter-of-factly that there is DNA in this case. And Riley even said at one point, it seems as if this person has never committed a crime before. I've posted videos about that on my page in the past. And so I wanted to do some research here, and I came across an ABC7 article that says, expert, linking partial DNA sample to specific person is difficult. Well, what if that is part of the problem here in the Richard Allen case? What if they only have a partial DNA profile? Now, a partial DNA profile is when areas that are being targeted for DNA, a complete profile has not been obtained, said forensic expert Erica Everhart. Everhart, the owner of Everhart Forensic DNA Consulting, has been specializing in forensic DNA for over 15 years. Everhart said that the type of testing the district attorney's office is probably referring to is YSTR testing, which is a type of DNA testing that focuses on male chromosomes. She said that linking someone to a partial profile is difficult. Okay? So keep that in mind. And we scroll down more and it says, typically in samples where there could be a lot of female DNA, it can mask the minimal amount of DNA and it can mask the DNA profile and you don't see it. Right now, one of the only ways to identify a partial DNA profile is through buccal swab testing, which is usually done by collecting cells from inside a person's cheek. Now, one thing that we know from studying this case exhaustively is that investigators in the days and years and months after the murders, they went out and they swabbed tons of people's cheeks, tons of people around the Delphi area. Okay? So this leads
or lends credence to the theory that perhaps, just perhaps, they only have a partial sample.
Anybody want to bet $100 that Richard Allen, after the murders, didn't get his DNA swabbed? Like in 2017, 2018, 2019, 2020. Just a hunch here, everybody. So forgive me here. We're going to go to another video real quick, and then I have a couple of treats for you before I end this video here shortly. Let's put this up here.
One of the last things I ever do is quote tabloids, but in this case, I think it's interesting because there's actual quotes from an FBI agent that was involved in this case at one point. This old article here from the U.S. Sun, which again is a tabloid publication, but bear with me. The title of the story is Stark Admission by Delphi Murder Suspect Richard Allen's Wife Sparked, quote, Domino Effect for DNA Evidence, FBI agent says. And this is from January of 2023. And I'll read the story here. It says, ex-FBI Special Agent in Charge Paul Keenan, who oversaw the Bureau's investigation into the murders of Libby and Abby for 2 years, spoke with the U.S. Sun ahead of Allen's appearance in a Louisville court on Friday. Okay? Following along so far? I'll skip the parts here that don't matter. An affidavit unsealed by a judge last month revealed that an unspent .40 caliber bullet found between the bodies of the two girls appeared to have been cycled through a pistol owned by Allen. The documents also revealed that Allen admitted to being on the bridge at the same time the girls were killed in 2 separate interviews. During an interview in October 13th, 2022, Allen told police he'd been wearing jeans and a blue or black Carhartt jacket that day, according to the affidavit, which I'll discuss more here later on. Keenan says the existence of the jacket is a potentially vital discovery and may still yield crucial DNA evidence.
Here we are back with the DNA again, okay? You have somebody who used to be an FBI agent involved in this case stating that he believes that the jacket is a potentially vital discovery and may still yield crucial DNA evidence. Remember, the prosecution does not have to put all of their discovery in their arrest warrant for Richard Allen. The more I read that search warrant affidavit for his property, the more I realize that Nick McClellan has probably done a far greater job of circumstantially just absolutely boxing the shit out of Richard Allen into being there and being bridge guy than we think, allegedly. And to have a former FBI agent involved in the case come forward and say that, hey, some of the stuff that they searched for in his house could still yield critical evidence, that lends me to believe that they have, as Doug Carter and Kim Riley have said, some sort of at least a partial DNA match to this day. Now, here's the other thing. What if that DNA doesn't match Allen? We don't have a coroner's report. We don't know if there was a rape that went on or a sexual assault. Maybe that's why police think that there are multiple people involved. Maybe they do have some sort of a DNA profile. Maybe there was some sort of a rape involving somebody else that went on, but they couldn't match the DNA. Maybe that's why they're still looking for someone. But I digress. Let's continue and hear what the FBI agent had to say.
It says, in a subsequent interview, Allen's wife, Kathy Allen, told investigators that her husband still owns a blue Carhartt jacket, the probable cause affidavit stated. And this FBI investigator, her former investigator, said he believes the investigators have already built a strong case against Allen, but if there's anything they found from the jacket, it could be a proverbial final nail in the coffin. And as we know, prosecutors don't need to include everything that they've found in the PCA.
We also know that they took a swath of carpeting from Allen's trunk near the spare tire area, and they're not just going to randomly take certain specific areas unless they spray those areas and find some sort of blood. Remember that. They're looking with their luminol or their spray or whatever they use, evidence of human blood. So for them to take a specific swath of that out in that area, they almost certainly found some sort of blood or DNA or evidence of DNA, whether it's human, whether it's animal, whatever it is, in that spare tire area in his trunk. They also, remember, swabbed his seatbelt and another area of the car. So there was some sort of blood or DNA, it sounds like, in the car. Now, it might be just coincidental. It might be Alan's blood. It might not match Abby and Libby's. But then again, maybe it does. Maybe that's why the defense is throwing such a temper tantrum, trying to get all this evidence suppressed. But if they find any of the girls' items, any of their DNA, anything, it's game over. And remember, in any filing the defense makes, they're not going to come out in a filing and say, yep, we know that you've got DNA of the girls in Rick's car. Or they're not going to come out and say that, because in any filing, it's going to be game over for their client. So they have to find other ways to throw that out if, in fact, they do have other evidence or other physical evidence other than the unspent round.
Okay. It says, with the gun and the addition of Alan placing himself at the crime scene with multiple witnesses describing seeing a man matching his description, I think it's a fairly strong case right now, said Keenan. And then his wife admitted that he still had a similar jacket at home. He said, so I would assume they took a bunch of clothing from his house as a result. They're probably testing the jacket for DNA right now, etc., etc. You see all these cold cases being solved by DNA 40 years later. This was only 5 years ago. If they find Libby or Abby's DNA on that jacket, he's done. We also know that they tested a swab of carpeting that was in the trunk of Alan's car. They swabbed his seatbelt and other items.
So I already went over that, so I'm not going to keep hammering that point home. But what I am going to do here is show you guys a couple of things that, again, it just sends chills up and down my spine, that I promised you some treats here at the end of this video. For those of you who stuck around, well, you're about to get a couple of them. Okay. Remember the video that was on my page where I showed you all a screenshot of somebody who used the Bridge Guy avatar? Okay. And it said like Bridge Guy 1313 was the YouTube screen name or something. And it just said Bridge Guy 1313. And they posted on one of the videos I made. And it said greetings. It just said greetings. And obviously, I think, okay, that's probably somebody just screwing around, somebody just playing games, trying to just get a rise out of me or all of us. And that it's probably not Richard Allen that posted that, because that happened on my page prior to his arrest. But when you watch this video, it'll kind of make you wonder, was Allen, in fact, kind of taunting the police? Why would I say that? Well, let's just take a look at this video here.
One thing I really enjoy doing is going through other people's YouTube pages that are also investigating this case online and seeing what they come across. Now, again, I'm not alleging this is real. I haven't been able to vet this, but there's a page on here called Archie Nemesis, ARCHIE space NEMESIS. And the title of the video is Richard Allen was lurking in Facebook discussion groups. Probably Reddit too. And I'm going to play this video. So it alleges that there was an account on Facebook prior to Allen's arrest that was called Rick Allen space Hill. And here are alleged screenshots from some of these posts from this person.
everybody see this? It's somebody named Amanda Michelle replying to a since deleted profile, and the name of the profile that was deleted is Rick Allen Space Hill. Now, obviously, I don't have a timestamp for this, but this was definitely before Allen's arrest, it appears. And it's nothing incriminating, but it says, if only being a detective was as easy as these people act like it is, be right back, going to Google image John Benet Ramsey's house to see if I can see the killer standing outside. And I wish that we were able to see what the comments prior to that were. I'm sure Facebook keeps track of all the things that were deleted. So if you're an investigator on this case, find out who these people are and find out who this Rick Allen Hill profile belonged to, and find out if it was in fact Richard Allen. Again, that could be some of the evidence they actually have against him for all we know. Maybe they already have investigated that. As a journalist, I'm putting this out there in the public eye, so in case investigators haven't seen it, they can shine the spotlight on stuff like this, because if this is real, that's either the craziest goddamn coincidence of all time again, or maybe it's Rick Allen just right under our noses commenting in Facebook groups about this case, just kind of testing the waters, maybe even murkying the waters. Maybe he gets a big kick out of it if it is in fact him, knowing that he's right there in the chat group and haha, you haven't caught me for 5-6 years. I'm going to start using my actual real name and just troll you by using the last name Hill after this. I mean, if in fact it's ever proven that this comment and deleted profile came from Richard Allen, then he's more cunning. If it's him, then that would make him more cunning and more sick and twisted than any of us even realize. That he's just playing a big game with everybody. So investigators, please do your due diligence on that. And then there's one more comment here later in this video that is a reply from Amanda Michelle to the Rick Allen Hill account.
Right here it says, it's from somebody named Amanda Michelle responding to a profile that has since been deleted named Rick Allen Hill. I mean, it just sends chills up and down your spine.
Let me fast forward.
And there is one more right here of John Benet Ramsey's house to see if I can see the killer standing outside, kind of just mocking some of the comments.
Forgive me, everybody, I pre-recorded.
And there is one more right here.
I don't know how this page only had like 500 and something followers, given how much everybody shares information on this case exhaustively for ages now. But this person's this person's YouTube page, it only has still like 500 and something followers. So something for everybody to check out. And then here's another comment from Amanda Michelle. Rick Allen Hill, she's responding to him to the now deleted profile. Exactly. And he's probably not walking around in the same outfit he committed a double murder in, she says to him. I mean, did this, and this person hasn't posted in like 9 months now. Is a tip like that, did investigators already get wind of this? And is that what caused them to reinvestigate or look into the tip narrative? Did they get that name and did they punch Rick Allen or Rick Allen Hill into their database or their FBI database and say, whoa, we interviewed somebody with that name? Could whoever has this Facebook account have potentially been how Rick Allen got exposed finally? It's not out of the realm of possibility, in my opinion. And then I have one more treat for you all here. And again, for those of you who've stuck around for the 54 minutes thus far and watched this whole video, thank you all. Thank you all for your support. I know this was different than my normal format, different than my normal live stream type of format, but I didn't want to get bogged down in answering questions and comments and things. And maybe I'll use this format to answer your questions on screen here. now that I'm trying to do a little bit of upgrading to my channel in the future. But for now, this is what it is. And so here's the other one I promised you. And what this is, it's video that somebody has from a news station on February 14th, 2017, of somebody hugging a woman. And this person looks eerily similar to Alan. And if this person, and again, this is a big if because I'm not saying it is him, but if this is Alan, it shows or would show that he was out there maybe as part of the search team or out near the crime scene the day after the crime was committed. Now, the thing that bothers me about this video is it appears like this person from a side profile view has a little bit longer beard than Bridge Guy appears in the video to have, but it's deceiving. Okay, if there's one thing we remember now about lower quality video is that things can be very deceiving. And the person in this video is wearing like a dark sort of jacket underneath this tan colored jacket that kind of blends in with his beard. So what you think you're seeing as part of his beard may actually be part of that jacket, but from a side profile. And again, I'll try to put the link to this video and to this person's page in the description so you can all judge for yourself. Because again, this StreamYard, it only lets me do like 720p videos or 1080p videos. So it's not like perfect video quality. Here you go. Take a look here, everybody. And I apologize if you hear a bunch of noise in the background. I think there's somebody in the kitchen getting up early here making coffee at my house. Take a look, though.
I have one more video from this Archie Nemesis YouTube channel that I want to share. And it says, is this video of Richard Allen after the search ended? Now, again, I'm not alleging that this is. Maybe there's somebody out here who can clarify who this person is. But this was supposedly taken shortly after the girls were found on February 14th. And I'm not going to lie, the person in this video looks an awful lot like Richard Allen hugging somebody. He looks short. He looks like he's about the right size. The side profile of his face looks right. And the only thing that doesn't look right to me is it looks like in this video he's got a little bit of a short beard, but he's also wearing like a high-collared black, like, sort of jacket that actually could be making it look like his facial hair is longer than it is. So I'll try to put the links eventually when I post the finished product of this video in the description so you can judge for yourselves. Let's take a look. There you see. And later in the video, they zoom in. There it is. It's closer there. It's easier to see that way. Let's see if I can pause it right at the right time here. Go to full screen. And let's play this again. So I find that really interesting. You know, was he a part of the search team? Do investigators know that he might have been part of the search team? These are all things that we don't know, but investigators probably have some sort of idea whether or not he was part of the search team. We know that he voluntarily came in on October 13th, 2022, right after he was served the search warrant, and voluntarily was interviewed by investigators. So whatever they gleaned from those interviews, you know, was part of what led to his arrest. So again, I'll leave it for you all to decide whether or not you think this actually is Alan in this video, and I will link the description.
So, just to kind of summarize, again, thank you all for watching my video. I have kind of laid out a case here as to why I think Prosecutor Nick McClellan and investigators have done a much better job than some of you give credit for at building a circumstantial case. And a partial physical case against Richard Allen. We still don't know what the Wabash River search was about. Were they looking for an electronic device? Did Keegan Klein or somebody else say, hey, I happen to know that, Rick or somebody else threw one of the girls' underwear in the Wabash River? Are they searching for that? And then they say, well, if he knows that, how did he know that? Like, who the hell knows? I mean, we don't know what else they found. Did Rick Allen have a burner phone that was out there that day? Did they say, okay, there's this cell phone that we know was out there on the bridge that day that we can't match to any person? And then, Klein or somebody else, or who, it doesn't even have to be Klein, comes forward and says, hey, this device was thrown in the Wabash, and they find this device or something and are able to match it to a burner phone that they know that they couldn't match to anybody else that was out there on the bridge that day. Folks, I really, really, again, I want to caution everybody. Everybody is innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. But when this goes to trial, if you're Nick McClelland and you're trying to prove your case, how you present this to a jury is going to be as important, if not more important, than all of the evidence itself. Because you've done a tremendous job in that PCA, in my opinion, this is my opinion, of boxing Allen in at that place and time as being the only male that was out there on the trail during that time, during that day, with 4 eyewitnesses by his own admission. And if you can get a jury to believe that and prove that to them, then Richard Allen is screwed. I mean, in addition to the confession, again, he's entitled to a defense, and we can debate all day long about, false confessions, the Odinism stuff. But at the end of the day, the fact that Liberty German took video, that combined with the fact that Allen came forward and put himself there and boxed himself into a corner, might have been his own demise, or might wind up being his own demise. And my only fear is, with prosecutors having said that they believe that Allen is not the other actor involved in this, does that mean that just somebody was covering up the crime for him? Does that mean somebody knew? Like, they wouldn't, folks, I want to beat this point home. They wouldn't be saying that in front of a judge if they didn't have some sort of evidence that strongly led them to believe that somebody else was either A, an accomplice, B, facilitated this crime from afar, or C, knew that he committed this crime and didn't come forward. And the fact that there hasn't been an additional arrest yet, boy, is there somebody else out there still lurking in the community that took part in this with him? Did somebody give him information? I mean, clearly, as we can see, Allen was out there on that bridge that day before the girls arrived, which means the girls either A, had to have crossed paths with him, either near the front of the bridge or on the trail at some point, then gone out on the bridge and he followed them out after that, or B, and this is still possible, folks, because we know he was out there before them, made it to that southeast side of the bridge, was at the far end of the bridge, waiting for them to cross that bridge, passes them on the bridge, and then turns around after he passes them. I mean, is that why when Abby and Libby take a photo on the bridge and put it on Snapchat at like 2:13 or and again, I'd really like to get the exact timestamp of that Snapchat. I think that's critical too, Prosecutor McClelland, if you can get that. Why didn't we see anybody else from the side of the bridge you enter in that photo they posted? Is it because Allen was already at the other side of the bridge waiting, then crosses paths with them, and then kind of turns around, says, okay, I'm going to go for it? Or did the girls cross paths with him at the front of the bridge? And then at some point, he just all of a sudden says, you know what, to heck with it. I'm going to beeline toward the other end. But is that why he was walking so fast? We could speculate all day long. Again, we're speculating based on known facts in this case. I hope everybody enjoyed this video and me speculating as to why I think that the prosecution has done a better job boxing Allen in, and why I think he's probably guilty of this crime. I'm not directly accusing him and saying he is. I want to keep pounding that point home too, because I constantly get people on my page that just talk to me like I'm an idiot, and it drives me nuts. It's why you see me get angry in the comments sometimes, everybody. Look, I used to be a government reporter for a long time. I want the court cases. You can't even imagine the things that I covered in my life as a journalist. And I'm well aware that somebody's entitled to their day in court, that people are innocent until proven guilty. But I'm also a critical thinker that when I examine all of the evidence, I feel very, very comfortable saying the things that I say on my channel for good reason. It's not me just, let's convict some innocent guy or Richard Allen. Remember, folks, I am not the jury. The Unsolved, I'm not the jury. I don't have the power to convict Richard Allen. Okay? He gets his day in court still, no matter what kind of crap me or anybody else says. What I say on my stupid YouTube channel is not going to be what convicts or acquits Richard Allen. It's going to be the evidence brought forth against him in court, and it's going to be what kind of a job his defense team can use to prove reasonable doubt, or to prove that he wasn't out there and he wasn't the only guy on the trails that day, and that the eyewitnesses that the prosecution has interviewed are full of shit. But I'm going to say this right now. The defense team, if you're going to stick with this Odinist theory, that it was a cult of people. And remember, the girls didn't even know. I mean, other people may have heard stuff days, weeks in advance, but to organize a group of numerous people in a cult among people who aren't known to sacrifice children ritually in the first place in broad daylight, when the girls didn't even know until approximately an hour beforehand that they were going out there for certain, because initially they were told no by Becky Patty. No, I can't take you out there that day. I can't do it. I got stuff to do, blah, blah. And eventually they talked Kelsey into dropping them off out there. They didn't even know until like an hour before. So you're going to tell me that they're going to organize in broad daylight with some dude marching across a bridge with 4+ people seeing this person and gather on the other side. Nobody else is going to see any other male subject out there. Not one single eyewitness sees another male out there during that time. And that they're going to commit a ritual sacrifice after somebody marches these girls across a creek, an icy cold creek at that, even though it was warmer that day, and that nobody's going to see anything. Again, it seems so goddamn far-fetched to me that it just makes me sick to my stomach and almost insulting. But again, I'm not the jury. Okay, these are my opinions. They will have their day in court to disprove the prosecution's case. And if they do a good enough job, my fear is, just based on some of the comments that I see and the lack of critical thinking that goes on my page sometimes, and when people comment, oh, Richard Allen, I'm sure he's innocent. How do you know he's innocent? And when I repeatedly ask people to lay their case out, nobody's able to do it in an organized fashion other than to say, well, the defense team said that Brad Holder drew a picture on his page that had somebody that looked like something similar to the crime scene. And when I look at the picture, it doesn't look anything similar to what's described at the crime scene by any credible source. Yeah, it's kind of a graphic, weird picture that he drew. But what are you going to do? Go and arrest everybody that draws a graphic picture that shows somebody with some blood on them or hanging? Like, you'd have to arrest tons of people across the United States for doing the same thing. It's just asinine, which is why you have to look at the totality of the evidence, the likelihood of the evidence, the physical evidence, the circumstantial evidence, which, again, I insist is way stronger than people realize. The more I realize, the more I read this PCA, it's like, damn, how in the hell does Richard Allen explain his way out of this one, especially after he confessed, too? I'm not the jury, folks. I'm just a critical thinking person who investigates things for a living, who's out here telling you why I think it doesn't look good for him. But I also don't want a double child murderer, an alleged double child murderer, to walk scot goddamn free and roam the streets again if he's in fact guilty. And some of you who come out and say he's definitely innocent without a speck of evidence, you're playing a dangerous ass game. A dangerous game. And it's insulting to the victim's family members that some of you come on my page, come on other people's pages, and have the balls, pardon my language, to say that you know for a fact that that man is innocent when you haven't sat in a jury box yet. And even I'm not saying that Allen is guilty. I want to repeat that. I'm saying, in my opinion, the totality of the evidence we have at our disposal now makes it appear like he's pretty goddamn guilty. But again, I'm not saying he is innocent until proven guilty. But it's dangerous stuff like what some of you are doing, saying, I know he's innocent. I know he's innocent. The defense said this, he must be innocent. You run a real risk of a potential double child murderer walking free when you play that game. And ask yourselves, look yourself in the mirror, why do some of you want to play that game? I don't understand. Truly don't. So he'll get his day in court. Thanks for watching, everybody. I'm getting a little long-winded now talking about this, just trying to think and make sure there's nothing else I want to go over. Let me know in the comments section. And again, I don't want to act like I'm bullying anybody into thinking you can't think the man is innocent, okay? You have that right. I want to repeat that. You have the right to think he's innocent. But if you do, please, I'm begging you, come forward with something of substance that backs those claims up, other than saying, a mentally disabled person or developmentally disabled person like Elvis Fields, who, we know has very limited mental capacity from all accounts, confessed to the crime or, this, that, and the other thing. Look at real actual evidence. Look at the fact that, Kagan Klein was searching Sandy Hook bodies, and how long does DNA last after he fled the damn scene, after he was known for a fact to be talking to Abby and Libby days before the crime. Look into the fact, as investigators did when I gave them this tip, they actually went and investigated Klein's cellmate, who alleges that Klein told him and his father were out there that day. Now, Klein has denied that. I think Klein's father has denied that as well. But that's what the cellmate told investigators that was said to him, okay? And again, that's detectives' jobs to vet that. And it appears that they are and have. That might be part of the reason why they still think other people were involved. I mean, who knows what other evidence they have, folks. But these people don't go in front of a judge on a whim. These are trained investigators and say we think somebody else was involved just to say it. Use your critical thinking skills. What seems most likely? And right now it seems most likely to me that Richard Allen is probably up Schitt's Creek without a paddle, and that there is strong evidence that other people might at bare minimum at least have some knowledge, if not involvement in this crime, by the prosecution's own admission. Above all else, let's hope and pray that whatever happens, the right person or persons is convicted, because that's what we really care about. And that the families of Abigail Williams and Liberty German, God rest their souls, finally get justice coming up here soon when the trial starts. I believe next month it is now, for these two girls, because that's all that matters. And when I started this channel, and to this day, this is the reason why I have this channel, is to make sure that we get as much information out there in the public eye, because investigators have an astronomical amount of things to go through. We can't just assume that every time, we post a video that we're egotistical enough to think, oh, well, why didn't an investigator see this? Why didn't an investigator say that? That's why the tip line is set up. That's why they have the Orion system. The FBI has powerful databases that sorts through all this information, and then they can determine what's, important, what isn't, and follow up on it. And as we've seen, there were some interviews with even one girl that was out there on the bridge that day, or on the trails that day, that wasn't even conducted until 2020. Okay? That's how much information they apparently had to go through. And I'm not saying that there weren't things that weren't done wrong in this case, because it appears that there were some things that have been lost. Some things were lost to time, lost in translation. But at the end of the day, based on the hard work of the investigators, it seems like they did a little bit better of a job than some people are giving them credit for. And I think when this goes to trial, we're probably going to find out that that's the case, because they seem really, really confident when they talk. And Prosecutor McClelland seems really confident when he speaks that he has a better case than people think. And again, remember, everybody, it's the defense team's job to just blow smoke up everybody's ass, to try and create chaos, try and create reasonable doubt, to try and say, oh, well, he's being mistreated, to say, oh, well, the conditions here are wrong, and, this, that, they'll do anything they can to try and stir the pot. I mean, look at the OJ case. OJ just passed away. If it doesn't fit, he must have quit. And I found out the other day that, OJ Simpson, when he tried that glove on, was like in the middle of like arthritis or something. And, supposedly the one testimony or expert testimony, they said, well, if there was blood on the gloves, it'll actually over time shrink the gloves. You got to think about these things critically. So God bless everybody. If you're any of the victims' families and you're watching this, just know that there's people out here that are, just really still fighting for you, that are still trying to do the right thing, trying to do right by these girls, that just want nothing more than to see justice for your family members. Thanks for watching, everybody. And again, God bless you all, and let's just pray for justice for Abby and Libby. And, who knows? Maybe we'll even still see a plea bargain of some kind. Maybe it'll get to the point where, we'll be in the middle of the trial and we'll see, oh gosh, there's more evidence than we think against this guy. And, maybe he winds up plea bargaining to save his life. I mean, we just don't know. We don't know if he's got some sort of mental illness going on. We don't know what triggered this allegedly, if it is him. But again, I'm not the judge. I'm not the jury. He'll have his day in court. Thanks for watching, everybody.